Good afternoon, everyone. Toughest job in the world. Giving a speech right after lunch. So let me begin by saying this. Let there be no doubt in anybody's mind, in this room, across the nation, and across the globe, that we have absolutely the most powerful, lethal, capable, and flexible Navy and Marine Corps the world has ever seen. And in a moment, I want you to get up and I want you to give a strong round of applause, not for me, to all the brave men and women for the past slightly more than 5 months now, batting the Houthis, a daily battle in the Red Sea. Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes I think the American people think that this is somehow commonplace to do this. As our CNO said the other day, there is absolutely nothing commonplace about this. Our United States Navy has attacked and we have conducted strikes like we haven't seen in many ways since World War II. So how about we get out right now and give a hand of applause to all our men and women. Serves a second purpose. You won't fall asleep during my speech. Again, let me also begin by thanking the Navy League for putting this incredible, fantastic event, for offering me the opportunity to speak to all of you here today. Thank you, Mike, Nick Bond, Stevens, and your entire team for all of your hard work, not just to put on this year's Sea, Air, and Space Symposium, but for your advocacy on all the issues that we care about in our maritime industry. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge our foreign delegation that's present here today, including many heads of Navy and Marine Corps from around the world. And allow me to extend a very special, warm welcome to the head of the Swedish Navy, Admiral Haslam, who joins us as the very newest member of NATO. Admiral Burley. It's wonderful to be back here at the Sea, Air, and Space Symposium. It's my third appearance as Secretary of the Navy, but I've been coming to this event for over 30 years. As a young naval officer, as a contractor for 17 years, and now again. And I'm reminded that I have many, many friends here in the audience today, and that's wonderful. It reminds me of a story that you all know that President Truman said, ladies and gentlemen, if you want a friend in Washington, D.C., get yourselves a dog. So, just in case, I'm extremely proud and thankful that I have a very, very special friend with me here today. And Chesty, would you please come out and join me on the stage? How about a hand of applause to Chesty? Thank you for your service to our country. Now, at least I know I'll have one individual who won't criticize my speech. In all seriousness, we face incredible challenges in every corner of the world today, from Europe to the Red Sea, the Indo-Pacific. As we are well aware, Russia has now entered the third year of its unprovoked and illegal war of aggression in Ukraine. And ladies and gentlemen, Congress must pass this supplemental to support our brothers and sisters in Ukraine this week. We can no longer wait. They not just fight for their own freedom, they fight for the democracy of all democracies around the world, and I'm hopeful as they regather from their break that they pass this very important supplemental. And for the first time since World War II, we face a comprehensive maritime power, our pacing challenge in the Indo-Pacific. The People's Republic of China continues to exert its excessive maritime claims through their Navy, Coast Guard, and maritime militia. Today, in the Indo-Pacific, the Theodore Roosevelt Carrier Strike Group, as well as the amphibs and littoral combat ships of Task Force 76 are patrolling the South China Seas. These warships provide the 7th Fleet Commander with both competition and combat-credible forces to support all of our friends, allies, and partners in Asia. And just this Sunday, in the South China Sea, warships and aircraft from Australia, Japan, the Philippines, and the United States conducted a maritime cooperative activity within the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone. We have not seen this in decades. Just as Secretary Austin said, these activities with our allies, Australia, Japan, the Philippines, underscore our shared commitment to ensuring that all countries are free to fly, sail, and operate wherever international law allows. And I am heartened that our allies from Japan and the Philippines are in town this week for the first ever trilateral summit between our three heads of government. And yes, this is something that we should applaud by. By standing together, we can stand up to China's excessive and coercive maritime claims in the South China Sea and elsewhere. And as you all know, in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden, as I said, we are working alongside our NATO allies and Middle Eastern partners to ensure the safety of innocent civilian mariners and to protect our commercial shipping against the Iranian-aligned Houthi attacks. Since November of last year, Houthi rebels have launched more than 90 attacks on vessels in the Gulf of Aden and the Red Sea. Just one yesterday. And just last month, the Houthis attacked the motor vessel True Confidence, killing 3 innocent mariners and marking the first civilian fatalities from a Houthi-launched drone or missile. Our sea services are America's first line of defense against high seas international lawlessness in all forms. USS Dwight D. Eisenhower with embarked carrier Air Wing 3 is one of many units defending our maritime shipping lanes against these attacks. Last week, the USS Gravely shot down a Houthi-launched anti-ship ballistic missile and 2 unmanned aerial systems directed towards her in the Red Sea. And just yesterday, the USS Mason did the same. Bataan Amphibious Readiness Group with USS Bataan, USS Carter Hall, and the 26th MEU supported Operation Prosperity Guardian to deter further escalation in the region, being stationed in the Eastern Mediterranean to prevent the escalation that could have come from Hezbollah. Last month, I had the opportunity to talk to our sailors and Marines on the USS Bataan when she returned to home port in Norfolk, Virginia, after 8.5 months of being deployed. And I wanted to take a moment to thank the families and the friends of our servicemen and women. Thank you for your unconditional love and encouragement as our service members stand the watch, deployed and overseas. We simply could not do this without you. And for all of you active duty members, please tonight go home and thank them on my behalf and on behalf of everyone who's here today. Our Navy Marine Corps team remains at the center of global and national security, maintaining freedom of the seas, international security, and global stability. The world is changing, however, at a rapid pace, and to remain both ready and relevant, we must never stop innovating. At last year's Sea, Air, and Space, former CNO Mike Gilday and I announced the expansion of Task Force 59's effort with uncrewed systems in the 4th Fleet AOR, the future of our hybrid capabilities. And I'm very proud to report here today that what Admiral Aiken has done in the 4th Fleet is truly exceptional. Today we have sea drones and other vessels that are actually operating unmanned, conducting the type of ISR missions that are necessary for us to gain even greater maritime domain awareness as we combat illegal drug transportation to the southern coast of the United States, illegal arms transportation headed south into the Caribbean, into Central and South America, and yes, even illegal fishing on the part of other nations. We continue to adopt the expertise of our people in uniform to match the changing character of war. This year, CNO Franchetti introduced the Robotics Warfare Specialty, or RW, rating into the fleet. RWs will be the subject matter expert for computer vision, mission autonomy, navigation autonomy, data systems, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. The establishment of the robotics rating is a significant milestone in our journey towards achieving a truly hybrid fleet. And the state of the world today highlights the importance of building a culture of warfighting excellence through integrated training environments. We are witnesses to the culmination of our investments in training through our engagements in the Red Sea. Last month, we executed the first integrated air defense course at the new integrated training facility in Fallon, Nevada. This iteration of IADC brought together the Lincoln Carrier Strike Group, including the Frankie Peterson, the ships of Destroyer Squadron 2-1 and Carrier Air Wing 9, facilitating training in the F-18, E-2D, and Aegis simulators, and ultimately enhancing understanding of capabilities amongst our warfighters. Our successes today in the Red Sea, and they are truly successes. Remember, this is not commonplace. Directly reflect our commitment to high-end tactical training and the development of advanced tactics, techniques, and procedures that are spearheaded by Naval Surface and Mine Warfare Development Center and the Naval Air Warfighting Development Center. The investments that were made 30, 40, 50 years ago in the Aegis weapon system and the Spy-1 radar and many of the other combat systems, those investments are the reason why our sailors and Marines have been able to combat the Houthis with the proficiency that they have demonstrated. To win the fight of the future, we must also embrace and implement new emerging technologies. Part of the Navy's principal governing approach is to develop concepts of operations and capabilities that bolster deterrence and expand our warfighting advantage in every single domain. Last September, I stood up the Science and Technology Board with the intent that the board would provide independent advice and counsel to the Department of the Navy on matters and policies relating to scientific, technical, and manufacturing, acquisition, logistics, medicine, and business management functions. The first task that I assigned my newly established Science and Technology Board was to investigate ways to rapidly integrate asymmetric technologies that have the potential to change the very nature of warfighting. They are meeting later this month, and I greatly look forward to their recommendations. They've been doing tremendous work over the course of the last year under the guidance of former Secretary Richard Danzig. Research, development, science, and technology enable us to innovate at the speed of relevancy. And this innovation is the key to ensuring our competitive edge over our adversaries. Today, I am pleased to announce the release of our new Naval Science and Technology Strategy, guiding our Navy and Marine Corps innovation initiatives in science and technology research efforts during this decisive period. And I want to thank Rear Admiral Rothenhouse. Admiral, where are you? Please stand up. I want to thank Admiral Rothenhouse and the team at ONR for their incredible work in developing this strategy. This strategy is a global call to service for scientists, engineers, inventors, innovators from academia, industry, and government to work with us in solving naval problems to ensure our freedom and our way of life. Just in this conference alone, Admiral Rothenhouse and his ONR team came to the table here and invested $9 million of new contract opportunities for companies here at this conference, and I cannot thank you enough for your dedication to making this work. The priorities of this strategy include strengthening maritime technological dominance by realizing our technology gains faster, identifying and adapting to disruptors to our technology, playing to our strengths, and wargaming our own technology development. Our strategy also includes building a culture of S&T excellence, enabling mastery of technologies and systems through partnerships with the Office of Naval Research, the Navy Postgraduate School, the U.S. Naval Academy, and the Navy War College, academia, industry, and new teammates. Lastly, the Naval S&T strategy prioritizes enhancing naval scientific diplomacy, nurturing robust and meaningful relationships with industry and academia to develop technical ability and interest in naval problems. We recognize that America does not have a monopoly on scientists and engineers or even on innovation, and working with allied institutions and collaborating with global partners opens up the aperture to S&T talent and ideas, ultimately building global trust with our partners, many of who are here today. It is a strategic imperative that we constantly assess the relevance of our S&T work to naval power and operational problems and opportunities. After all, S&T's is a means and maritime dominance is the actual end. Now, as Secretary of the Navy, my mission is to provide combat-ready forces and capabilities to the President of the United States, the Secretary of Defense, and our combatant commanders. It's that simple. This means ensuring that our sailors and Marines have the ships, aircraft, and weapons that they need to deter our adversaries, and if called upon, as we are today, decisively win our nation's wars and conflicts. But over the past 40 years, America's maritime shipbuilding industry capabilities and capacities have atrophied. The consequences for naval shipbuilding have been manifesting for years and will grow ever more acute unless we reverse the underinvestment, both private and public, in modernization and industrial capacity. Right now, we build the most capable warships in the world in shipyards that are sometimes decades behind the global technological standard. This is an inefficient approach requiring far too much time, workforce, and taxpayer dollars. And it is certainly an approach that is wholly inadequate to pace our 21st century competitors. Our Korean and Japanese allies, for example, build high-quality ships, including Aegis destroyers, for a fraction of the cost that we do. When my team and I went to South Korea, we were floored at the level of digitization and real-time monitoring of shipbuilding progress with readily available information down to the individual pieces of stock materials. Our top executives could tell us to the day when ships would actually be delivered. It's an ethos, a commitment to constant improvement that is the foundation of their reputation for consistently delivering on time and on budget, even during COVID. The daunting challenges that we face are also an opportunity, a great opportunity, to partner with a greater number of shipbuilders here in the U.S. and with our closest allies abroad. We have an opportunity to attract the most advanced shipbuilders in the world, to work with our first-rate shipbuilders in the world, and invest in commercial shipyards here at home. This will allow us to modernize and expand our shipbuilding industrial capacity, creating good-paying, new-collar American jobs that come with a healthier, more competitive shipbuilding workforce. As the findings of the 45-day comprehensive shipbuilding review have underscored, too many of our industrial partners are behind schedule and over budget on our highest priority programs. Let's be clear, I want American industry to thrive. As a business owner for almost 2 decades, I understand your perspective. I am pushing our shipbuilding industry to invest in itself, to get better, to be technological leaders, and to once again deliver platforms on time and on budget. We must deliver for the American people. Because it is our line of work, we don't get to make excuses. Of course, there's work for us to do on our end and the government as well. I'm determined to address the long-standing challenges in our procurement processes that cause industry heartburn as they try to do business with us. And there are many that we have to work through. I expect our leaders in the government to foster a culture of excellence and accountability across our own acquisition workforce. That is why I'm directing steps inside the Navy acquisition community to make ourselves better and smarter buyers as well. I have tasked my new Office of Strategic Assessment to take a deep dive into the opportunities for improvement identified in the 45-day comprehensive shipbuilding review that I ordered at the start of this year. I've also tasked OSA to develop innovative new approaches for how the Navy can better organize itself to procure ships more effectively as well, too. I created OSA for just this kind of purpose, to propose data-driven assessments and recommendations that will help drive smart choices for our department. And I will be taking actions in other areas that directly bear on our acquisition challenges inside the government as well. As my team well knows, I have been continually pushing us to the limit to leverage all of our existing authorities to be as agile and flexible in budgeting and acquisition as we possibly can. Within the Department of the Navy, I have directed my team to do everything possible to move our priority initiatives faster than the budget cycle can accommodate. For example, and it's just one small example, but an important one. As you've heard me say numerous times, one of our top near-term force development priorities is rearming our warships at sea via the transferable rearming mechanism, or TRAM, for connected underway replenishment of our surface fleet's vertical launch systems. You may be wondering why, and you won't find TRAM in the fiscal year 25 budget submission. That is because our team and I have already identified the promise of TRAM and resourced an at-sea demonstration with our existing below-threshold reprogramming authorities after we submitted PON 25 to OSD last year. That at-sea demonstration will take place this year, an unheard-of pace for a capability with such revolutionary strategic potential. If we had waited for the PON for it, we wouldn't be seeing it demonstrated for at least another 2 or 3 years. Instead, we're on track to begin fielding in 2 or 3 years. Of course, because it's not in the budget submission, we'll need to collaborate with Congress to line up the follow-on resourcing to get to the final version of this capability and field it across our fleet, hopefully without an additional continuing resolution. We are confident they will be receptive to helping us move fast on our capability that studies show will have the same effect as an additional 18 destroyers on the firing line, increasing ASABO. And we understand that Congress is already taking out the legislation to this effect. The point is this: just as our country needs you and industry to be at the top of your game, I am determined to ensure that we in the Department of the Navy are also on the top of our game. We must meet industry in a common place of excellence. The stakes in this business are high. People's lives are at risk. Our economic future as a country is at risk. Greater investment in our commercial and naval shipbuilding infrastructure, both public and private, is imperative to provide and maintain a Navy and a Marine Corps able to defend our national security and our economic security. We are committed to working with industry to develop and grow the shipbuilding industrial base. And in the case of the submarine industrial base, prepared to make $15 billion of American taxpayer investment just over the next 5 years to demonstrate that we are committed to this cause. And we are doing what we can to create a steady demand signal to industry. We must prioritize increasing industrial capacity to meet our era's global challenges. We are a turning point in our nation's history. In closing, we face a truly dynamic future. A future of both immense challenges, but also of endless opportunities. The maritime battle space is ever-changing and demands constant adaptation and innovation from all of us. We must continue to foster a culture of open communication, unyielding collaboration, transparency, and trust to find creative solutions to the complex problem set which lay ahead of us together. Thank you again to all of you in this room for your commitment to our Department of the Navy, our Department of Defense, our maritime services. Now that I've told you about all that is on my mind today and what is happening in the Department of the Navy, I want to take a few of your questions. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Last year in September, I think it was, you started a Maritime Statecraft Initiative. You just recently got back, I believe, from Korea and Japan. Can you give us an update on how that's resonating with our partners and how that initiative is going?
I think it's resonating quite well. This is going to take a long time to get us to a better place. You have to understand, we, the nation, abandoned the shipbuilding industry and making the necessary investments in around the early 1980s because we thought that somehow the private sector would just take care of itself. And in some ways, it did. China moved in with cheap labor and labor practices that weren't unfair. In fact, the United States is considering suing China for some of those unfair labor practices. It's with Ambassador Tai right now for decision. But it's been abandoned, and so incentives were not made. And so we were not able to actually grow our shipbuilding industry the way that we should have. And in fact, post-Cold War, we lost many of our shipbuilders. And thank God that we have the incredibly proficient and astounding shipbuilders that we have today that are supporting us in our shipbuilding efforts. But the fact is, we need more capacity. If we want to grow a Navy fleet, let me be clear, we need a bigger Navy fleet to meet the challenges of the future. We need to have the industry to be able to grow that capacity. So this is a whole of government discussion that we've initiated in the Navy, across the government, and there's a lot of interest that's growing in many different places throughout government, and I think that you'll see this actually continue. And when you see members of Congress actually getting involved on their own, that's a good sign that it's moving in the right direction, and I hope that we'll continue to do this. Some people, will criticize me and others for perhaps being too naive and we can just fix this problem. Well, the thing that I am quite confident of is that if we don't work together to fix this problem, it'll never get fixed. So let's all join forces together in every which way that we can and try to come together so that we can have more investment in our shipbuilding industry, both naval and commercial in this country.
Mr. Secretary, Mark Howard, Tritech Manufacturing, we're a vertically integrated shipbuilding support company. I'm also the chairman of the Industry Partners Committee for the Shipbuilders Council of America, vice chairman of the Marine Machinery Association, and a Navy League national vice president. How can industry support the advancement of your science and technology strategy?
I think you're going to continue to encourage Congress to make the necessary investments for greater funding for S&T, for example, and continue to work with us on a regular basis as well, too, to support all the different initiatives across the Department of the Navy and Department of Defense. We're trying to do a lot of things with more innovation in mind, whether it's the Rapid Capabilities Office or the Disruptive Capabilities Office in the case of the Navy, to try to bring innovation and technology to the warfighter in an expedited manner the way that I've stated in my speech as well. Hi, Megan.
Hi, Megan Extend with Defense News. Thank you so much for doing this. You mentioned in your remarks the 45-day shipbuilding review. Last week we were briefed on the extent of the delays and some of the root causes, but I wondered if you could walk us through what happens next and how the Navy plans on, taking steps to remedy some of the challenges.
Sure. We have plans. Every PEO throughout the Department of the Navy has significant plans on how to address the shortfalls within their own PEOs. And recognizing that in some of these cases with regards to, whether it be Virginia or the aircraft carrier enterprise, some of it's due to major delays and major components being delivered to the prime contractors. So these are significant issues that we've had to deal with in the Navy. So trying to get to the root cause of what's causing these delays and how we can strengthen the industrial base to prevent them in the future, I think is very, very helpful. And of course, addressing issues of investments with regards to multi-year procurement. I'm a huge supporter of multi-ship, multi-year procurement in the right numbers. I'm also a huge supporter of advanced procurement, right? Whether it be for aircraft carriers, submarines, or ships, in order to actually be able to put those components on order and those materials on orders well before, so that we can have early delivery to the shipyard so they can have them available to them as they assemble these platforms as well too. So those are the many things that we're going to be looking at, in addition to how can the government perhaps provide a little bit better oversight in some cases, working right side by side with the shipbuilder instead of being here at NAVSEA and having the shipbuilder be somewhere else, so that we can address these problems more quickly as well too. And so I think there's a lot of promise about being able to reduce those timelines into the future if we all collectively work together to get to a better place. And I'm confident that both Dick Girton and Admiral Downing will lead the path in getting us to the proper place.
Thank you for your questions. At this time, Navy League National President Mr. Christopher Townsend and the CEO of the Navy League of the United States and 13th Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy, Mr. Mike Stevens, will now join Secretary Del Toro on stage to present this year's Safety Award winners. These awards are intended to stimulate safety through ideas, suggestions, and programs that will